Online discussion on TCU Online is a significant component of this course. In this video, I will explain what I expect, how it fits into our weekly routine, and how it's graded. The idea is that you'll engage with the material by posting online a few times every week. You can start a new thread or reply to your classmates. It's all good. It doesn't matter to me. The point is to encourage you to think carefully about the reading and to provide a space where you and your classmates can process your questions and confusions and thoughts and responses together in your own time. And I prefer online discussion to reading quizzes. I think you'll agree with me there. So in your posts, you can ask comprehension questions, explore criticisms, make connections, and reply to each other. A good post will typically be about 3 to 6 sentences long. Longer posts don't really get you more points, so you don't need to go on unless you have more to say or think you need more space to explain what you're thinking. A good post will also typically make reference to the assigned readings or videos or whatever. And when you do this, I just ask that you please use page numbers or section numbers or timestamps or whatever, just so that it's easier for your classmates to understand what you're talking about, to follow along. It just helps the discussion flow a little bit better for everybody. Another important expectation I have is that each week you will make at least one substantive post that I call a critical thinking post or a CT post. Basically, this is just some post that engages with the ideas of the week in some kind of substantive way. Typically, CT posts will be questions or answers to questions that your classmates have posed. Now, when I'm deciding whether a post is a CT post, basically, my main question is just, is this substantive? But if that's too vague for you, then generally speaking, I can say CT posts fall into one of 3 or so categories. They can express an objection to the reading or an answer to someone else's objection. They might express an interpretive question about the reading or an answer to someone else's interpretive question. Or they might make some sort of interesting connection between the reading and something else, whether it's a topic from another week in the course or something outside of the course or whatever. Most of what you post anyway will count as a critical thinking post, so I don't want you to stress out about this too much. The main thing is just that straightforward comprehension questions like, this is a long word that I'm unfamiliar with, what does it mean? Or what exactly is the author saying in this confusing sentence? Posts like that don't count as critical thinking posts or CT posts. They're fine kinds of posts to make, and I encourage you to make posts like that if you have those questions. But I want you to engage more substantively with the reading each week than just that. So I just have this requirement that you need to have among your posts a critical thinking post. It can be the start of a new thread, or it can be a reply, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, the other trick to critical thinking posts is that they have to be made by a particular deadline. We use critical thinking posts to structure our discussion in the later part of the week, so they need to be made in time for whoever is leading the discussion to take those considerations into account. So there is a deadline each week by which you have to make the critical thinking post. You can find that deadline, of course, in the syllabus, and it's also written in the video description. The doobly-doo, the down there part. Now I'm going to explain how online discussion fits into our weekly routine. Typically, we will be introduced to our weekly topics through readings or videos or podcasts or whatever. And these readings can often be complex and a little bit hard to understand. So the recommended strategy for approaching them involves 3 stages: pre-reading, close reading, and critical review. But this video isn't about that. So for more details, you can look at the guidelines for reading, which you can find in the student skills packet or in the link in the down there part. Readings and other resources are all assigned for a particular week of the class, and I expect you to examine them before the first day of class that week. But because they're often complicated, you do not have to have mastered or thoroughly understood them before class. After all, part of what we do in class is work through the details and talk about context and background. I'm there to help you understand them, and I don't expect you to do all of that work on your own. So this is how it works. Before the first day of class in a week, I expect you to have done the pre-reading stage of reading. You don't have to have done more than that. You don't have to have read everything carefully, but you should look the readings over and familiarize yourself with their contents to the extent that you're comfortable. After the first class of the week, you should be better prepared to look at the readings, and that's when you should complete your close reading. After you complete your close reading, please make a critical thinking post on TCU Online by the deadline. After that, you can complete your critical review in time for our second class of the week, where we will have a discussion inspired in large part by the kinds of considerations that you bring up in your discussion on TCU Online. So in summary, first do the pre-reading before the first day of class, then do your close reading, make a critical thinking post, do your critical review in time for the second class of the week. That's the theory anyway. This is how it's graded. You get 1 point for each post you make that makes a new observation or asks a new question. You get 0 points for posts that don't really add to the discussion. So if you're merely agreeing or disagreeing with someone else, you don't get a point for that. Unless you explain your reasons, then you're adding something to the discussion and you get a point for that. You lose a point each week you don't make a critical thinking post by the deadline. So there's a penalty for missing that critical thinking post. But generally speaking, you get a point for every time you post on TCU Online throughout the semester. At the end of the semester, I just add up all of those points along with the points that you've earned from other assignments, and that's how I calculate your grade. My general recommendation is that you aim to make about 30 posts over the course of the whole semester, and you can distribute those as you want. It doesn't matter what week you're making the post, as long as you're always making a critical thinking post by the deadline. Given how many weeks we have in the semester, that means you should aim to make 2, occasionally 3 posts every week, and you'll be in good shape. I'll try to update the gradebook on TCU Online regularly so that you can always see where you stand. I will not typically be giving you feedback on your posts apart from updating the gradebook in TCU Online. I will be reading all of your posts though, of course, and I will drop in and add a reply or a comment occasionally if I think it'll be helpful, but mostly I prefer for you to try to work out the answers to your questions with each other. So I will not be chiming in or replying to all of you. The hope is that these discussion boards on TCU Online will be a space where you can talk to each other and work out ideas with each other. And I am there to supervise, but not with a heavy hand. And that's probably all you need to know. There are some extra details in the syllabus appendices about how to find the discussion forums, how to post, and so on, but all of the essential details that you need are right here. Just remember to post 2 or 3 times every week, including a critical thinking post by the deadline, and you will be in good shape. I look forward to seeing what you have to say.